Your results come down to the subconscious beliefs that you might not even know you have. So, if you're here, you're trying to change your relationship with alcohol, you're taking a break, you're trying to drink less, or you're living happily alcohol free. And the power of our subconscious beliefs is literally what dictates our behavior, our actions, ultimately our destiny. Now, what do I mean by subconscious beliefs? Subconscious beliefs are stories or rules that you've picked up over your lifetime that form a kind of truth in your mind. These stories and rules aren't necessarily grounded in truth, but your subconscious believes that they are. Let me share you this example that happened back in the 50s. So, you know, humans have been running for a very long time. The Olympics were formed back in Greece in the BC times, right? But it wasn't until 1950 something that Roger Bannister actually broke the 4 minute mile. Before that, we literally believed as a rule that humans couldn't run a mile under 4 minutes. It was just physically impossible. There was no way it could happen, and no one had ever done it, at least recordedly, and done it up until that point. It was literally a belief that we all carried together as a society, as a culture, that nobody can run faster than a 4 minute mile. And it took almost, especially from the first Olympic back in BC in Greece up until 1950-ish, that to actually break that rule and to show us that that's not the truth and that we are not limited by these stories and rules we tell us. So in 1950 something, Roger Bannister was the first person to break the 4 minute mile, and he ran faster than that, under 4 minutes, right? And then what ended up happening, which was so crazy, was he broke that rule, not just in his own physical body, he was able to run that fast, but he broke it in the minds of other people. He broke it in the minds of other people. So that next year, a handful of other people ran under a 4 minute mile. And the next year after that, even more people ran under a 4 minute mile. And today there are kids in high school that can run under a 4 minute mile, right? It's not the most crazy feat in the world anymore. And yet we had literally been conditioned to believe that it's impossible for the human body to do it. It was this cultural rule, this belief that we all had that was driven into our subconscious that it wasn't possible, and it wasn't grounded in any kind of truth whatsoever. Truth is objective. Truth is like law of gravity, right? Like there's really no ifs and buts about it. It always happens. You always throw the apple, it always comes down. Everything else that you tell yourself is subjective, right? Everything else you tell yourself might be grounded in a story that's not serving you, might not actually empirically be true whatsoever, and it might have been picked up a long time ago as a protection mechanism to try to keep you safe from actually going out and doing the thing that you want to do. Our subconscious beliefs are formed very, very young, some of them. We are passed down this conditioning from our parents about even what's possible for our lives. If we just let ourselves go and do whatever we wanted to as kids, most of us would have grown up to become singers or astronauts or all this incredible stuff, and yet somehow we all get conditioned into going for these high success jobs like doctor, lawyer, and we leave behind the dreams of our younger self. What does this have to do with changing your relationship with alcohol? Well, my friend, there are subconscious beliefs and stories and scripts that are running in your mind right now that are governing your desire to drink alcohol in the first place. They are governing your desire to drink. These were not formed in a vacuum. These were formed with the society around you, with the culture and conditioning around you, and with your own exposure and experience with drinking and that of your friends and your family. And these beliefs are running in autopilot in your brain. The thing with the subconscious is it doesn't really think very analytically. It literally just absorbs whatever it's told, right? And then it's sunk down in there, and we really have to use a very conscious process of shifting your mindset to be able to change them. Otherwise, that's what's going to govern the show, right? And so some of your subconscious beliefs around your desire to drink alcohol are literally the reasons why you like it, why you think it brings you benefits, comfort, or pleasure. Some of these beliefs might seem super innocuous and super normal and super common to you and your friends and your family. Like, I like to drink to relax. I like to drink to unwind. I like to drink to celebrate the weekend. I like to drink to let loose. I like to drink to, shut down my monkey mind and just breathe for a little bit. I like to drink to commiserate. I like to drink socially to make me more confident. I like to drink all of these reasons, right? And when you start become euphoric or you work with me as a client, I have you actually write down all of these reasons and really ruthlessly go through them as you take a break from alcohol to see, okay, are any of these beliefs actually grounded in empirical truth? Are these beliefs serving me or empowering me, or are they disempowering me and telling me the story that's limiting about my life? And you don't just do this, one time. As you take a break from alcohol, you keep looking back at your old beliefs and you keep shifting and chipping away at them. You keep doing it over and over and over until you're literally left with those beliefs being completely debunked for yourself. And you do this with experience, You have to become like a scientist in your life where you take the original hypothesis, like alcohol relaxes me, for example, and you ruthlessly look for alternative evidence to debunk that hypothesis, to make sure that you're not just going for confirmation bias, right, about what you assume to be true, but you actually ruthlessly test it. And you have to test it by taking a break from alcohol. And that's why I have my flagship course, Become Euphoric, is an 8-week challenge from alcohol that actually allows you to take every single belief that's running in the script in your brain, on your subconscious, and reevaluate if all of that subconscious conditioning, if those reasons are really true, and if they're really grounded in empirical evidence, and if they serve you or if they're disempowering you, right? And so in week 1, you find the reasons why you like to drink and what is underneath your desire. And these are super, super, super easy to find. You literally just make a list of the reasons why you like to drink. And then by week 4, I have students and clients literally go back and reevaluate. Okay, now that I have 4 weeks off, now that I've taken a whole month off, how much of these original beliefs were true or not? So for example, a lot of people think that alcohol helps them sleep. And it's a very misguided idea. Almost 20% of Americans use alcohol to fall asleep. And the crazy thing about is this is one of the most easy to debunk myths out there. There's so much empirical evidence and so much evidence that you could just discover for yourself experientially as you test this out that shows that that's not true. Alcohol does not help you sleep, okay? Alcohol is a depressant. It's like a sedative. It's literally like taking something that will make your brain pass out. But that doesn't mean that your brain is going through the proper sleep waves that it's supposed to go through. It's not actually putting you to sleep, it's sedating you. There's a total difference, right? And so when you drink alcohol to sleep, or for, you're just drinking and then, you have the sleep that you have, it's not the nourishing sleep that you need. Alcohol completely throws off the natural waves of sleep that you're supposed to go through because then you're just sedated and you're not going through them. Thus, you wake up even after you clocked in 8 hours of sleep, completely undernourished and completely exhausted still, right? Anyone wake up exhausted after drinking, even if you slept 8 hours? I remember that so well. So what alcohol does is it sedates you to sleep, into slow wave sleep. But what happens is that then you're not able to go into REM sleep. And you're supposed to go to REM sleep between slow wave sleep every 90 minutes. We have these cycles, these chunks of 90-minute periods in our sleep. Alcohol prevents you into going to REM sleep. Even just one glass of wine has been proven to reduce your REM sleep cycles from 5 to 6 a night to 1 to 2, right? Just one glass of wine. So this misguided idea that alcohol helps me sleep just isn't in fact really true. It's actually robbing you of the nourishing, restorative sleep that you really need. And what ends up even happening, which we know experientially, is, come on, who wakes up at 3 or 4 a.m. with a super dry throat and acidic stomach and feeling regretful after drinking? That happens to most drinkers after 3 or so drinks, right? You can't avoid it. That's not something that doesn't happen. Alcohol disrupts your sleep. It fragments it, especially in the early morning or like late night, however long you drink. But, around 2, 3, 4, 5 a.m. is prime time for wake-up calls, prime time to feel super regretful, prime time to have a hard time falling asleep. And that's because not only does alcohol throw off your sleep cycles and not allow you to have restorative sleep, it actually pumps out stress hormones into your body. So cortisol, adrenaline, dynorphin, it's all getting pumped in your body, and you feel it the most 5 hours after drinking, which is usually that 2, 3, 4 a.m. wake-up call, right? So empirically, alcohol does not help us sleep. Not one iota of truth in that, right? And you can see how if you misguidedly believe that, you could come to terms and come to a process to learn that it doesn't. And it might take some experiential learning. You might actually have to test it in your life. And you'll find that when you first remove alcohol from your life, your sleep might still be pretty up and down. That's totally common. It's really normal. It takes a few weeks for your sleep to rebalance. But if you really give it the time and you really allow yourself to completely rebalance from the effects of alcohol and the byproducts and let your circadian rhythms rebalance, it could take 4 weeks. I don't know. I mean, for me, it took about 2 weeks. Some people, it takes 1 week. It could be 4 weeks. You will find that your sleep improves, and you will test that your theory originally was wrong. Alcohol does not help you sleep. Therefore, you chip away at one of your reasons for drinking. You chip away at the underlying desire in the first place. Now, what I just described is something you can do for every single one of your beliefs around alcohol. Every single one. And not all of them are going to be the difference between being empirically true and not, right? Sometimes these things are subjective. Like the idea of liquid courage might be subjective. However, the next question you have to ask yourself is, does this belief empower me or does it disempower me? Does it tell me a story that I'm a limited being, that I don't have enough skills on my own, that I have to outsource things to alcohol to become the version of myself that I want to be? Or does this story empower me? So most of the time, most of the reasons why we like to drink to become more fun or more social or more confident or more easygoing, whatever they are, those are very limiting beliefs, because that means we fundamentally believe that we can't be those things on our own. I am not fun enough. I am not confident enough. I'm not sociable enough. I'm not easygoing enough on my own, right? I can't access it on my own. I have to outsource it to a drug. And when we continually do that over our lives, we actually teach the subconscious that we are not those things because we continually have to outsource them. So when you take a break from alcohol and become euphoric, this is really radically tested as well. Is like, how can you show yourself that not only is it not true that alcohol is never making you confident, but it was actually making you less confident over time because it's stealing your ability to find that confidence within yourself and build it up like a skill. So I'm a total introvert. I was really shy growing up. And when I found alcohol at first, it was like this magical elixir to my teenage brain. It helped me be more extroverted, yada, 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 right? Similar story to a lot of introverts. But what I ended up doing is I kept drinking every time I socialized. I kept drinking every time I socialized. I kept drinking every time I socialized. So I never learned how to do it on my own. And not only did I not learn how to do it on my own, I also kept telling myself every time I reached for a drink when I was socializing that I needed alcohol to be confident. So I was telling my subconscious, you're not confident on your own, you're not sociable, you're not interesting, nobody likes you, all these things. What ended up happening is it actually made me less confident than had I never picked up that habit in the first place. It made me really, really insecure. I mean, super, super insecure. By the end of my drinking, I remember like going to social events, like networking events, and being so in my head, you know, like, should I have another drink? Do they notice if I have wine teeth? Like, am I talking interesting? Do I sound buzz? It was so much going on. And it felt a little uncomfortable when I first took my break from alcohol to start to learn how to socialize on my own, but I did it. And it did feel uncomfortable at first, but then I learned to feel more comfortable in my own skin. And it was like a muscle that I had never ever worked out before that I finally was working out and getting some traction and getting some practice. And now I can say 100% that I feel way more confident without drinking, and that it really did erode my confidence and my self-esteem over time. It also erodes your self-esteem because you say you're going to do one thing and you don't do it. You don't follow your intentions when it comes to alcohol. Most people don't. Most people set out to have the one drink or 2 drinks and they always break that. And so that slowly chips away at your self-confidence too. So those are 2 examples of beliefs that you can completely deconstruct and debunk in your life. And you have to just keep doing it for each and every one. Now, it sounds complicated and it sounds like it takes like a long, tedious process, but I've laid it out for you perfectly in Become Euphoric. If you're interested in joining, if you're not already in, it's an 8-week course to do this process, and I also do it with my one-on-one clients. So this is something that you can do systematically to literally remove your desires to drink, because it's really not about willpower at the end of the day. It's not about, ooh, I can't drink, so I'm just going to force myself not to and live in misery for the rest of my life. No, I do not want that for anyone. It's about removing the desires to drink in the first place from your brain, right? Can you imagine the freedom you feel when you don't desire something in the first place? Like, if you don't desire to huff paint in the side of the road or smoke cigarettes, you never think about it. You're not like, oh, should I have it? Should I not? I'm deprived. Everyone else is having it. It literally doesn't even cross your mind. You don't want it. You feel like freedom for yourself that you do. You feel bad for people who are doing it. You feel amazing. You feel euphoric. You feel happy. And that's the point. That's why it's called Become Euphoric. So you can feel happy about this lifestyle change. But it all starts with changing your subconscious beliefs. Now, some of our subconscious beliefs are super, super passed down from the culture we live in, and we don't even know it. So, for example, have you ever grown up with this idea that drinkers are cool, or that they are interesting or complex? You know, we have characters like Anthony Bourdain, and he was drinking all over the world, and he was bad, and he was a rebel, and it like feeds into this narrative that drinkers are cool and complex. Now, when I say it out loud, it sounds like, no, I don't believe that. That sounds so like really high school. That's a very immature kind of way of thinking. But it dominates, trust me. In the back of your mind, this idea that drinkers are complex or interesting or cool has been passed down in America since Prohibition, right? Because the opposite back then were Puritans. The opposite back then in Prohibition was this very, very religious notion, right? That you shouldn't drink, that it's wrong, that it's sinful, that it's immoral. So ever since then, and even leading up to the Prohibition, we have literally ingrained it in our American consciousness that not drinking is puritanical, and that to show that you live a little and that you're cool and interesting and like you can hang, you have to drink. This has literally been passed down in our American consciousness. It's not something you might even recognize. And when I say it out loud, maybe you're like, no, I don't believe that. Trust me, it's back there. It's back there because this has been a long, long time thing that's been associated in your brain. You might have other beliefs like only people who lose control with drinking have to quit, right? And that's one that held me back for years. It held me back for years because I believed that unless I was like at rock bottom, or if I didn't want people to assume that I was hiding vodka and drinking it at work, that I couldn't quit drinking, that I couldn't stop drinking, that I couldn't make changes to my relationship with alcohol. What a dangerous, 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 destructive idea that has been passed down literally from both the alcohol industry and the rehabilitation industry all together to tell us that only the most severe problem drinkers can change their relationship to alcohol. Who's allowed to go vegetarian? Is it only people who have a problem and addiction to meat? Who's allowed to remove gluten from their diet? Who's allowed to remove sugar from their diet? Who's allowed to start exercising more? Who's allowed to improve their mental health? Everyone who wants to. It doesn't matter what you're eating or your habits look like. Anyone is allowed to make changes to their lifestyle to feel better and healthier. Same thing with alcohol, if not times 1,000, because alcohol actually affects us the most physically. Anyone is allowed to change their drinking habits and patterns. It doesn't matter if you're a light drinker. It doesn't matter if you drink on the weekends. It doesn't matter what your story is. It doesn't matter if you have a somewhat complicated relationship with alcohol, which most of us, I think, arguably do if we've grown up in this society and time. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter even if it is the most severe problem you've ever seen. Anyone under the sun is allowed to change their relationship with alcohol because removing alcohol from your life, even just for a break, will work wonders on your brain, work wonders on your body, work wonders on your self-esteem and self-love, work wonders on your ambition and drive. It changes. It's a fundamental transformation, unlike anything I've ever seen with any other kind of lifestyle change. Anyone's allowed to change their relationship with alcohol. So if that story is holding you back, it's time to let it go and replace it with a new empowering story, right? And you might find this coming up with your friends and family. Like you're trying to change, no one else is, so you feel like the odd one out. Maybe like you have an issue, they don't. Trust me, people envy what you have. Deep down in all of our hearts, we all want to wake up feeling amazing. We all want to not be controlled by a beverage. We all want to, not feel gross and groggy in the morning. People envy what you have without even knowing it, and you're a shining example for them. So this is like an example of some of the subconscious beliefs around changing your relationship with alcohol that might be coming up for you. And like I said, I systematically work through a process with my clients and students to look at each one and experientially and empirically and with thought exercises switch them so you have more empowering ones going forward, which actually changes the brain, which actually changes your neural pathways, which actually changes those beliefs, those subconscious beliefs in the first place, and then removes the desire to drink. Because I haven't had a desire to drink since I stopped drinking. Like, I literally have not had one. And that is not by chance. That is not because I'm lucky. That is not by chance. I was ruthless to uncover every single reason why I wanted to drink, and I debunked everything, right? And I went through a huge long process doing this. I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of journals of this time, and I want to save you hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of journals and going about it on your own by showing you how I do this and become euphoric or working with me as a client. This is what I do. This is my bread and butter, to show people how you can take these subconscious beliefs that are literally running your life and change them. Now, maybe you're living happy alcohol-free and you find that like you have been working on your beliefs a lot there. How else are beliefs holding you back? Trust me, this theme of beliefs, the power of your subconscious beliefs, can run in any domain in your life. So let me ask you, why can you not be successful? Why can you not be rich? Why can you not go after your biggest dream on your heart? There oftentimes is some type of story, some type of limiting belief, some type of script in your head that's telling you why it's not possible for you. Maybe one of yours is, I'm too old. I'm too old. It's too late for me. I already had my chance. It's too late. I'll never be able to do it now. Nobody will listen to me. It's about the new generation now. Yada, yada, yada. How interesting when you put that limiting belief next to that's very opposite. I'm too young. Anyone ever felt like that? I'm too young to do that. I'm not an expert enough. Nobody will trust me. I'm not an authority. I look too young. I mean, heck, people think I'm really young. I'm 33. I don't know if that's young or not to you, but I had that limiting belief a lot. Like, why would anyone listen to me? I'm too young. I'm not really that young, but it was something that was really holding me back when I first started, because a lot of other people I had seen that work in this field, that are life coaches, are in their 40s and 50s and 60s. I'm 33, right? It's not that young, but in my mind, I was too young. So what do those beliefs end up doing to you? Those beliefs stop you from making any progress. Because what happens if I continually believe that I'm too young? I'll wake up and not do anything because I'm too young, right? No one's gonna like listen to me. I don't have the authority, expertise, whatever. I won't be able to get the job, the promotion, whatever it is. I'm too young, I'm too young, I'm too young. I keep telling myself that over and over and over, and I don't make any progress. And then one day I wake up and guess what happens? I'm too old now, right? Do you see how these limiting beliefs can literally prohibit you from doing the very things you want most in the world? I used to have this belief that I thought that entrepreneurs were show-offs. I literally, like, when I had friends or just like people on Facebook that I saw launching businesses, I was super judgmental. I was super smug, and I was like, look at them. They're just show-offs. Look at them just selling stuff. Like, how gross. Seriously, that's what I thought. And guess why? Guess why? Because I was jealous. I was fundamentally jealous of people going after their biggest passions and making a livelihood off of doing what they love instead of slaving away in a corporate office. I was jealous. So I had to make up a story in my mind that justified me staying safe, that justified me staying comfortable and not going after my dreams, that justified not trying. How many beliefs do you have today that justify you not trying, right? So this process will work when you change your relationship with alcohol. It will also this process will work when you want to change how you go for your dreams and how you view success and how you just step into the most emboldened, powerful, infinite version of you. It will affect how you think of money. It will affect all these different domains in your life, maybe even relationships, like, what about the belief, like, I'm just not good at relationships? Like, I'm just not good at them. I scare men away or something. These beliefs are holding you back in so many domains in your life. And I know because, of course, I still have limiting beliefs. And I work with a coach all the time to be able to uncover them when I notice them and work through them and debunk them and overcome them. So the limiting beliefs that I had in the past, I've graduated from, right? I have new ones now, or ones that are coming up more strongly for me now, but a lot of the ones that I had a few years ago, I've graduated from. This idea that I'm too young, or I don't know what I'm doing, or that entrepreneurs are like selling out their souls and that they are show-offs, I've long, long ago surpassed those because I've done this work. I've done the work to actually change the belief at its core, at its subconscious level, through different thought exercises, through experiential things, through listening even to motivating speakers. Like, there's such a way to do it. And when it comes to your relationship with alcohol, changing your beliefs is the number one way you're ever going to find freedom. Because trust me, the behavior change can happen. I used to try it in my own life. I used to take breaks from alcohol before I did this mindset stuff, and I would just focus on not drinking, you know? I would just be like, okay, I'm just not drinking. It's gonna kind of suck. This is gonna be like a deprivation period, almost like a juicing diet or cleanse, right? It's just gonna suck, right? And I used to just believe that, and I'd willpower my way through, and I wouldn't drink for whatever period of time. Usually it was like 7 days. And then when I'd go back to drinking, it felt so great, right? Because I was depriving myself the whole time. Behavior change does nothing. If you're even right now just in the behavior change and you haven't worked on the mindset, it's not sustainable. Behavior change leaves behind a vacuum. It's a vacuum of deprivation. If you want to fundamentally change your relationship with alcohol, you have to go after the mindset. You have to change the mindset. You have to change the reasons why you thought you liked drinking in the first place and replace them with new beliefs. Because when I took those breaks from alcohol before, I always felt deprived. I always felt like I was missing out. I always felt like I was robbing myself of pleasure. And so I always wanted to go back to alcohol because I did nothing to change the beliefs. So even if you have like 10 days or 20 days, but you're not working on those beliefs, it's seriously like it's going to be much, much harder. You're going to feel deprived. You might go back easily to wanting to drink alcohol because the beliefs in the first place were never looked at. And so it's really, really important, really crucial for you to do this process. There's definitely books you could read, but I think like really doing it in a very great container, taking a break and fundamentally looking at your beliefs. I'd love for you to join Become Euphoric if you're not already there. I also take clients on and do this personally with them. You could read books like This Naked Mind. You could listen to podcasts. There's so many ways to do this, but commit to doing it. Commit to looking at your mindset. Commit to looking at your beliefs. And if you've already done the ones around alcohol and you feel pretty good in your relationship with alcohol, you feel free, you feel like, you know, you're just really happy living alcohol free, then it's time to look at where these beliefs are popping up in other areas of your life. Let me share a really common one that is really complicated as well. Money, right? We have complicated relationships with alcohol, and we usually have complicated relationships with money. So that's another really good one to look at. Or what are the stories you're telling yourself about why you can't be successful, why you can't go after your dreams, why you can't shake up the status quo and actually do what you really want to do with your life? Trust me, all the limiting beliefs will come there, and you can use the same exact process to change them there. So I hope that was helpful. I'm so glad that you're here joining me. I really appreciate you and like you being so hungry to learn and to change the mindset in the first place. It's going to really fundamentally change your life, because when you do it, when alcohol, you learn the process, and then literally it's a process you can apply in so many different areas of your life. It's a process that you can apply and see through, and you just keep growing and growing and growing and growing. And it's not like the fears or the beliefs ever necessarily go away or stop coming up, different ones. But you know how to handle them, and you know how to work through anyway, and you know how to go after your faith and your bigger dreams over fear and these excuses and this justification that's not serving you to stay stuck. So I hope that was helpful. I can't wait to see you next week, and thank you for joining.